Good evening, everyone. Hope you all are doing well. A very warm welcome to all of you to session 3 of Lead Forward series, hosted under the transformative initiative of Beyond Business by IFPO. My name is Misha Vahid, and I'm honored to be your moderator for today's session. At IFPO, our mission goes far beyond certifications. We are committed to empowering not just security professionals, but also team leaders, aspiring managers, and industry change makers with a mindset, tools, and skills to lead forward in a dynamic, ever-evolving world. This vision gave rise to Lead Forward series, a learning experience designed to build leadership. What began as a new initiative has now become one of the most meaningful, engaging spaces for reflective professional development. With over 200 professionals joining us across sessions, this journey has become a growing movement, a testament, and a need and desire for deeper people-centered learning in our industries. Let us take a moment to revisit how far we have come. In session 1, the growth code, cultivating mindset of continuous learning, we focused on how small mindset shifts can create big lasting change. Then in session 2, break the barriers, let go of limiting beliefs. We explain how internal narratives shape our growth and how realizing those beliefs can open up new potential. Our first 2 sessions were a powerful start and highly interactive, filled with energy. If you missed them, you can watch the recordings on our official YouTube channel. The link is available right now in the chat box. Do check it out after today's session. Today, we build on that momentum with a topic that truly affects all of us, often without us realizing it, the communication reset. These sessions center around one of the most essential leadership tools, communication. So let me begin with asking you a simple question. When was the last time you paused, you really paused, not just to respond, but to understand someone? And how did that change that outcome? Feel free to write your answer in the chat box, please. Okay, helped us to reach this decision soon. Great.
Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon and good morning to those who are joining us from across the Atlantic. Very pleased to say that we are honored that CEO IFPO, Ms. Sandy Davis, and the Executive Director, Jessica, have also joined us. So they are in the chat, in the video there. At some stage, they will appear. And I wish to request Misha as well as Mehreen that if you could be please kind to let Sandy come and share a few words with the team. Sandy, all yours.
Okay, good morning, everyone. For me, I guess it's good morning, good evening for you folks in the across the ocean. Good to be here this morning. I see there's a magnificent turnout. This is fantastic. I'm sorry that I missed the one session previous to this, but I heard very positive things about it, and looking forward to participating today as well. I'm looking through the chat here, and I'm seeing that there's people from all over the globe attending, which is fantastic. We really do have a global footprint. There's no doubt about it. Folks from every corner of the world. Great. Fantastic. Nadeem, did you have any comments that you would like me to elaborate on?
No, thank you for your patronage, Sandy. And as Misha has eloquently explained, that IFPO is not about providing security, technical qualifications and courses and certifications. I always say, and with your permission, Sandy, I quote, the essence of a training program is the change of the mindset, not just the skill set. And I'm a bit emotional because somebody is sending me a message that nice hairstyle. Yeah, thank you. I was on Hajj 2 weeks back. So I have been blessed to complete my Hajj. And one of my friends said, is it Procter & Gamble that you work for as a brand ambassador? No. So it's my Hajj thingy, all right? So going back to these trainings, This is an open invitation. If you get benefited and somebody that you know you wish to invite, as many as you possibly can, it's a service to the community by IFPO. And so very glad that we've got nonetheless the best of the people available on the globe here at the moment. Sandy, Jessica, you there? Just say hi so everybody can see who Jessica is. And then of course Mehreen. So thank you all for your patience of listening to me for 2 minutes. I give floor back to Mehreen. Mehreen, your show. Do your magic.
Thank you, Nadeem. Lovely to see you here again. Lovely to meet you, Sandy, for the very first time. I'm so glad you could make time and be here. And we'd love to hear lots of perspectives and inputs from you. So that's always great. Uh, is it good to start, or are we waiting on more people, or any other logistical housekeeping issues?
We've got 99. Oh, we got 100.
Amazing.
So 100. There we go. Crack on.
Amazing. Brilliant. If you could spotlight me, I'm thinking if I can do it on my end. I'm not sure if everybody else can. Yeah, there you are. Brilliant. Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. So hello, everybody. A lot of you are probably repeat. Give me a quick heads up if you're joining for the very first time. If you are, a very, very warm welcome to all of you. I'll be introducing myself shortly, but let me share my slides up. It's been a fabulous experience so far working with this group, and we had a bunch of repeat people last time as well. It's always good to have people come back. All right, so today we're going to look at communication from a bunch of different angles. It's a topic that I feel very, very strongly about. And you'll hopefully see the passion coming across as you see me talk, because it's something that a bit of a journey that I've been through myself as well. And I feel that it's a cornerstone of leadership today. It's the cornerstone of whatever role that you may be filling out in your work or even as your personal life, in fact. So a little bit about me for the people who are coming here and meeting me for the very first time. I already see some familiar faces, so hello back to you. I've been a coach for a really long time now. If you counted a really long time, I count it as a small period because there's a long path to go. So I do a lot of corporate facilitation and coaching, and the areas that I feel very passionately about are mindset development. So I'm so happy that Nadeem has set this up, because like he said, that offers a very necessary stencil for good work, productivity, efficiency, performance, all of those things to happen. So I do a lot of executive and leadership coaching. I do a lot of corporate facilitation. I feel most passionate when I can connect with people, especially people across the globe. I have lived in over 10 countries in the past 15 years. So that's quite an experience. And yeah, without much further ado, I put this lovely recent photo of myself from the mountains here, and which I was lucky enough to visit. And I'm just in the mindset of just, a lot of wellness space here for me. All right, so bringing the topic back to why we're here, all of us, we're going to interact quite a bit here today. I hope that you got the instructions. If you haven't, all I need from you is today's one A4 size paper. So if you haven't gotten it, while I'm speaking, just, kind of grab any A4 size paper. If it's A4, better. If you can't get your hands on it, no worries, just get any paper. All right, so today's agenda is we're going to look at communication from different angles. How do you communicate? How do you, look at communication coming in from other channels? What do you make of it? How do you communicate with confidence, clarity, presence? What active listening is? How do you get into that? What is the role of emotions in communication? People always ask me, what do you mean emotions? What's emotions got to do with communication? But it has everything to do with communication. We're going to look at different types of communication, and we're going to touch upon slightly upon conflict management, managing difficult conversations, and handling feedback. All right, before we start, I'd love for you to put it on the chat. What communication habit do you intend to reset? So let's set that lovely little intention before we go into training or the webinar. So any specific communication habit you feel that this is a development area for me, or this is a dream habit for me to build, what would that be? No limits on thinking. It could be pretty much anything. And I'm just gonna see if I'm able to open this chat. Yep, there it is. All right, improving self-confidence, listening better, Kevin, that's a good one. Effective, friendly, Claire, Akbar, speaking one-to-one, one-on-one effectively, Lawrence, that's a good one as well. The fear of public speaking, Henrik. If it's French, then it would be Henrik. So not sure what that is, but amazing. Empathy, transparency, understanding what is being said, not who is saying. That's brilliant. Public speaking, repetition of words and ideas. All right. So some of it we're going to get into today, and other stuff we're just going to leave it for future sessions. I'm trying to move this chat to the side, so just bear with me a few seconds. It's not letting me. Just all right, I might have to stop share for a little bit. Just give me a second. I'm trying to remove this chat button to the side. All right. I think I was able to do that. All right. So a little activity time before we get into it, just to get those muscles moving, brain muscles moving. So what I need you to do is go and grab those A4 size papers. If hopefully everybody's gotten it. Yeah, give me a thumbs up if you've gotten it. Great. So what we're going to do is we're not going to split you into teams actually, because we're all online. So ignore that part of the instruction. What you're going to do is that when I say go, you're going to close your eyes. So when I say close your eyes, you're going to close your eyes while the paper is in front of you. And when you're going to hear my instructions. So whatever I say, you're going to do that with your paper. You may not interrupt me. You may not ask any questions at this point. And more importantly, you must not open your eyes. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing this just so I have more visibility on all of you. All right. So if everybody has their papers, I want you to hold your papers and at this point, close your eyes. And I know it's going to be a little uncomfortable in an online space to close your eyes, but we're going to hang with that and see what it does to our communication. All right. So on the count of 3, I'm going to say, I still see a few eyes open. Yes, now that's good. Most of the eyes are closed now. When I say go, you're going to pay real close attention to my voice and follow my instructions without opening your eyes or without talking. All right, 1, 2, 3, go. Hold your paper in front of you in a portrait position, like a letter. So not landscape. Fold the paper in half from top to bottom. Tear off the top right corner of the folded paper. Now fold the paper in half again from left to right. Tear off the bottom left corner of the new folded paper. Come on, hurry up, fold the paper diagonally from one corner to the opposite corner. And now take a pause, take a deep breath, and tear a small hole in the center of your folded paper, as best as you can guess where the center is. All right, now open up your paper, open up your eyes, and hold up the paper. So open up your eyes and let's see all your papers. Hold your papers up and keep holding them up so everybody can see. You can open your eyes. So the people who are still closing their eyes, they can open them up. Right, so open your eyes, open your papers, hold them up and keep holding them so we can all see your lovely design creations. All right, so people at this point can unmute themselves and tell me, as you're looking around at everybody's papers, what is the first thing that you notice? So have a good look at the papers that everybody's holding and tell me, what is everybody noticing?
Line of creases.
All right, what's the first thought that entered your head as you looked at all the papers?
The papers are crumpled.
So Shafil Ahmed Kutputin says they're not the same. Bingo. How come? My instructions were same to everybody, given in the same tone to everybody, in the same time period. Why the differences? What happened?
Oh, okay. Each one has his a different way to do it. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Iram also put that in the chat,
Yeah.
that everybody has a different way of interpreting it. Everybody had a different response to my tone because I was speaking louder, I was speaking softer, sometimes I was speaking really slow, sometimes I was speaking very fast. Yes, Kevin, that's a very good one. I wasn't clear, left or right sometimes. I wasn't clear. So people might have gotten confused on the left and right. Somebody just put that's different understanding of the words. So, although I didn't use any cultural word here, but Come again.
Ma'am, this is Asad Hashmi from Pakistan.
Good to have you.
I would like to add that this is how the we can understand from this example or a story. This is how the miscommunication spread when somebody talks and number of people, so many people listen that, and when they convey ahead, so there is always a different story in that. Also, this is a lesson for us. So always the communicated things are not are the same which somebody has heard. Different people have a different stories.
Absolutely. Really good point. I have a question to everybody. What was it like to follow instructions without seeing? So one of your senses was forced to be shut. How did that feel, and how did that impact the way the communication was happening? I'm just going to randomly pick on somebody then. So Iram, how about you? You're the first female face popping up on my screen, so I had to zero in on
At the
you.
beginning, for me, I found it is difficult
Mm-hmm.
listening to you, and at the same time, my eyes is closed. I found it is very difficult to listen to you and focus to follow your instruction. While my
Absolutely.
eyes, yes, focusing, I found it is very hard to focus.
Brilliant, Ahab. See, I put a limitation on one. I made it a very one-way communication. When I said you may not ask questions, you may not interrupt me. And then I put another limitation by asking you to close your eyes. So you couldn't really see the paper that you were holding. So I gave you limited information, and I, put you at a disadvantage. I could see you, judge you, so to speak, but you could not see me. Iram had unmuted herself. Iram, I've got a question for you. How do you think the culture or there's another one, social context comes into play here?
Yes. Hi, Marine. Okay, so it was interesting not being able to see, but I'm used to following instructions with my eyes closed. So I actually at times find it more grounding to simply focus on the voice and do what I have to by visualizing it. So it's a question of being used to the cues and then environment, which means the more you expose yourself to a variety of stimuli and environments and exposures, the better you are at understanding varied instructions. So the idea is to learn, to expose yourself, to talk to people, and to learn. So experiences are very important, is how I see it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Iram, for that other side of the coin, bringing that in, because there are times when there are people who are great listeners because they're very good at closing off their other sensory inputs, sometimes even their brain. They're just there in the moment, present, and just listening. And it helps them that they're able to just be silent and focus on that. So different interpretation, whereas it disturbed the focus of one person, it actually amplified the focus of another person. And one more thing that I want to bring here is the role of culture or language. When you work with different people, different languages, the word I use here is diagonally. Different people may read that differently if they're coming from different education backgrounds or different languages or different cultures. My pace, somebody put that in the chat. Definitely that was on purpose. That was going up and down. Sometimes I was going really fast. Sometimes I was going really slow. And it really impacted. Now, if you add another layer to it, imagine if I'd started saying the same instructions in an angry voice, your ability to understand that or follow instructions would have gone even, there would be an added layer of difficulty there. Awesome. So this was to prime you towards what is to come. So let's go back to that. All right. So the key point I want you to take away from here is that we think that communication is just words. Majority of us believe communication is how we talk. So if I often do this exercise when I have more time and I say, what is the one word, when I say communicate, what is the one word you want to say? And majority people just write either talk or listen. But both talking and listening involves words, and words form only 7% of how we communicate. 38% is tone of voice, which is driven by emotions, and 55% is your body language, your facial expressions, your body posture, your eye movements, the way you touch. In a lot of cultures, touching is a very effective form of communication. I was in a communication conference once in the UK, and we learned about the littlest of things that we don't pay attention to. For example, if we are sitting on a chair and I just want to do this, or if we're talking to somebody and I do this, so this gives a very closed body posture. Or if my body is here, but my mind is somewhere, and it shows by the way my eyes are moving. Whereas if I want to tell somebody that I'm open, I'm listening, I open my arms as well. And another trick that I learned is that you should always, put your arms where somebody can see them, so that's another added layer of communication. The way we communicate with others and ourselves ultimately determine the quality of our life and work. And there's this really interesting book that I'm reading, which says that if you think about it, all problems in the world are interpersonal problems. Everything comes from the fact how we communicate with somebody, or how we don't communicate with people around us. And I want you to think of communication in 4 different ways. So there's, of course, speaking, the obvious ones. There's listening, the obvious one as well. But then there's the non-verbal communication, which I just talked about: your tone, your body language, your expressions, the kind of feeling you're giving to somebody. And the 4th one is thinking. Thinking is also a form of communication. How are you thinking about yourself? How are you thinking about the person standing next to you? What kind of thoughts are popping up? What kind of judgments? What kind of regrets? What kind of emotions are popping up? That's also in this space. All that is also a form of communication. And often that translates to how you actually end up using your body to communicate, or your words to communicate. So we have to learn to listen beyond the words. And a lot of times, words is just the tip of the iceberg, something that you see. There's a lot that is not said. So pay attention to not only what is said, but also some things that are not said. So words, of course, what is being said, but tone, very important, how it's said, and behavior. What is not being said through words, but is said through body language, energy, tics that we may have. And sometimes, and it's a really funny example, because when we do this with our kids, we ask them questions like, are you happy with this? And they'll be like, yeah, we're happy with this. Just because they know that those are the words that we want to hear. Are you happy with your food? Yeah, I'm happy. But what we fail to see is the tone and the body language that is giving us a completely different message. So I'm going to invite 3 people here to do a little exercise with me. The first person can just unmute themselves. I have a sentence: nice of you to show up. Okay. I will say it in the most neutral way, which is nice of you to show up. Okay. That is neutral, devoid of emotion. There's no emotion. If I say to you like this, it comes across as I'm indifferent, I don't care, maybe I'm bored, maybe I don't really want to be here, maybe I'm not interested in talking to you. So I did one for you, and I want somebody to say, nice of you to show up, in a very excited voice. So who can be a great actor, actress for me right now? Otherwise, we'll ask Nadeem to pick on people. Okay, Ahmed, and then Aram, you can go after that. All right, Ahmed, excited.
Excited. Nice of you to show up.
Awesome. Did everybody notice his body language? His entire body leaned in to say that, and his facial expressions. There was a smile. It's impossible to say nice of you to show up without actually smiling. A lot of times people would use their hands as well. Nice of you to show up. It's so great to have you. So not only his mouth was talking, but his eyes were talking as well. Aram, I want you to say this in a sarcastic way.
Perfect. That's what I was thinking. Nice of you to show up.
What happened to her tone now, and how did that make you feel? It didn't make you feel very welcome. She's wearing glasses. Otherwise, we would have seen her, eyes roll a little bit. If we roll your eyes, or like, oh, nice of you to show up, like you again. I don't really, or maybe that person was late, and Aram is being sarcastic.
Yeah, or you
Nice
came
of you to
late.
show up. Yeah, right. And so it's same sentence, but we can say it in different ways, and it carries a different loaded meaning altogether. Sonny, you're next on my screen. So before you get so comfortable, I want you to try and say this in a very panicky way. Like you're in a panic, you're rushing, and something is not going okay. And you just spotted somebody, and you want to say nice of you to show up, but you're hurried, you're panicking, and you're rushing somewhere. How would you say it?
Nice of you to show up.
Oh, I think you're a very sweet person, because that's still sounding as very sweet. Now imagine that there's a massive emergency, and you're panicking. Your boss is saying you're going to be fired if you don't solve this problem in 5 minutes, God forbid. And then somebody comes and says, Sonny, how are you? So good to see you. How would you answer? Would you say, sure, you might say, because you look like a very sweet person, you might say nice of you to show up, but you're literally rushing somewhere in panic because your boss says, if you don't resolve this problem in 3 minutes, you're going to be fired. Now, how would you say it?
Nice of you to show up.
I love that. So that shows that he's a very super amazing person who's already mastered his communication. But you know how I would say it, Sonny? If I'm distracted, and I have this tendency when I'm distracted, I'd be like, yeah, nice of you to show up. I'd be right back. Oh, I don't have the time to talk to you right now. And again, I wouldn't make the person feel very welcome. So I want you to think about the kind of words we use and the kind of tone we associate with. All right, so we have an example of a person. Let's call him Paul. What happened was that he's a security officer at a residential area, and routine deliveries come to the residential block all the time. And he had this delivery by a delivery person. He came in, he had the protocols, the delivery sheet, the receipt, the invoice, whatever was needed. He checked it. He said, yeah, how are you? And he said his normal hellos, but the delivery person was on the quieter side. He was quiet, his head was bent down, he signed, and he went into the building. Shortly afterwards, somebody called him, one of the residents called the security officer saying that there's an unidentified person in the residential block trying to open doors and trying to get in. How did he get through security? He did follow all the protocols. He signed for the right things. The security guard definitely, did the non-verbal communication in the sense that he did the sign. He asked him what his name was. He did the verbal communication. But what did he miss? What part of communication did he miss?
I think the part of the communications that the persons was missed is the urgency of the what do we call this, the urgency of the case, giving that the circumstances that he will be in a rush situations.
All right, another thing. And anybody else got any ideas? So in this case, the delivery guy was quiet, right? And there was not a lot of verbal communication that happened, but there was definitely communication that happened. And the security guard missed the signs, even though they were there. Yes, the moral of the story is that when an unidentified person gets in, it means that yes, they've gone through the protocol, but it's not necessary that they will only get in just because they're carrying a gun or through aggression. They got in quietly, but the body language always tells a different story. So like I said, he was on the quieter side. Usually delivery guys are very, they're vibrant. It's good to have a discussion with them to say, oh, hey, how are you? How are you doing? How's the weather? This guy was quiet. That was hint number one. Hint number two, his eyes were, down on the floor. He was looking down all the time. So he was shifty. Something was not okay. But the security guard overlooked that because I didn't attach a lot of importance to non-verbal communication, didn't look for those signs. And as we know, it's even more important for security personnel, no matter what level they're in, to look for non-verbal cues as well. But also, when we do things routinely, and that is very true for somebody who's in this profession, when we do things in and out, maybe 200 delivery guys come in this residential area every single day. When we do something routinely, something becomes autopilot for us. So we stop paying attention to things that are there just because we feel, oh, this is just a straightforward procedure, follow protocol, get the signature, move on. And that is usually where the risk factor arises. And we're going to look into that in a little bit as well. All right, so there's this phrase of active listening that we throw around a lot. What exactly is active listening? Let's get into that a bit. So active listening is 80% awareness and 20% words. So that security guard was definitely not an active listener. He was just maybe waiting for the words, but not attaching any importance to being aware of what was happening other than beyond the words. So when we read the cues, it not only helps us prevent risk, but it helps us see things that we normally wouldn't see. It helps us anticipate conflict, and it helps us solve conflict in the right way. When we're that mindful, when we're that aware that we're paying attention, when we have a reportee, they are going to be a yes man all the time. They're going to say yes to everything. If we're not active listeners, we'll say, oh yeah, I think that person is super happy at his job. They say yes to everything that I say. And I always check with them and I say, are you happy at their work? And they say yes. And then one fine day, they turn in their resignation letter and you're surprised what happened. It's because you never listened actively. You never paid attention to the signals that were there all along, showing you that this person was not happy at their workplace. Similarly, same case for misunderstandings. And as we saw with the example on the previous slide, routine should never replace presence. Things that you're doing on a regular basis, on an autopilot basis, should not mean that you stop listening actively. You start noticing, you start being present. So one habit that I want you to build on is the notice one rule thing. In every interaction you have, whether that's with an employee, your partner, your spouse, your child, somebody who works for you, somebody you work for, your next door neighbor, train yourself to notice at least one nonverbal behavior that stands out. Good or bad is a different scenario. One nonverbal thing that person might be communicating. So for example, I'm somebody, as you may have noticed by now, who talks with their hands. So my mouth is talking, but I talk with my hands quite a lot as well. So recently somebody noticed I was a little low on energy. It was a difficult day. And my hands didn't come on the screen. And they asked me, they said, we noticed today that you didn't really use your hands much. Is everything okay? And I was like, amazing, marvelous at your noticing, at your active listening, because you noticed that is an important part of my personality, my hands, it's not happening, something must be wrong. And as coaches, that's something that we are trained to do, to listen actively when we're talking to a client, to see what is happening, not only the words that they're saying, but their entire body and energy. Nadeem has got something to say.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to ask if these sign signals that are to be noticed, raising a hand is part of that or not. So you noticed me. Thank you for that, Mehreen. The beauty of communication is the moderator of this show is asking me to ask Mehreen if this is the right time to click a picture while Sandy and Jessica are here and we've got everybody fresh. So is it a right time to
Yes,
click picture? I
absolutely.
said, Misha, why don't you ask?
That's a very good idea. I'm going to
What
stop
if Marine does not like? So, because I'm known to be taking the brunt of everything, she has put me forward. So, I
Absolutely.
request the
It's
ladies to
really
please
my
pop
pleasure.
up here all and we
Yes.
can click a picture.
I think,
Yes.
Misha, you might want to remove me from Spotlight as you do that, so maximum number of participants can show up. And
Okay.
I think Iram is also on Spotlight by mistake, so is Sandy. Also, just a reminder, just like last time, please be sure to click to go to page 2 to take a picture, because
Yes, sure,
you
sure.
want to miss
I would
it.
like to request Sandy and Jessica both to please switch on the camera, so we'll take a group photo. Thank you so much, Sandy. Okay, so everyone can make faces or victory sign or some thumbs up, anything you like to do for a picture, please. Thank you. Just wait a moment so I take a picture of everyone. Thank you.
Okay, this way. Oh, there we go.
Thank you so much.
Again.
Last time we did this, I tried to make the hearts the Gen Alpha and the Gen Z way, and I really struggle with it.
Oh,
My-
yeah.
yeah.
You do it now, though.
I have 2 Gen Alpha daughters, and I don't know, I can't, I honestly, I can't do it. I don't know how they do it. I still do it the millennial way.
Yes,
Yes, exactly.
yeah, we
Iram,
do like
I
this.
still do it the millennial
I
way.
don't know. Nadine, you didn't try that.
Nadine can do this very well.
I can only do the millennial way. I don't know how to do it. Maybe I'm going to take a tutorial from them.
Misha, this is a communication enhancement session, not cribbing. So, you'll have your time after the call.
Okay.
Sandy, they all want to complain about me. So, please give them ears 15 minutes after the call. Mehreen, back to you.
Thank you so much. And I doubt that anybody wants to complain about Nadeem. He's such a wonderful person to have around. All right. So before I get into this, I want you to think about for a few seconds about yourself. What is that one thing that you think, one non-verbal behavior that you think stands out for yourself, and put it in the chat. And
Sorry,
some of you
can
might
say
have
it
to
again?
think more. What is that one non-verbal behavior that stands out for you? So like I took the example for myself, it's how I move my hands. Lovely to see your cat going around, Iram, because I just kicked out mine. He was doing exactly the same thing to me. So I kicked him out of my office and shut the door. All right. All right. So yeah, I definitely encourage everybody to look at the chat and see what everybody else is sharing, because it gives you ideas of what different normal verbal behavior styles are out there. I know somebody who, whenever they're speaking with somebody, just like my hands talk, their eyebrows talk. So they think they have a poker face, but not really. Their eyebrows tell a different story. So they'd have like a really straight face, but their eyebrows would be either judging you or really calm, like they're really taking in what they're saying, or they have a question, so they're going to look very quizzical. So it's interesting how we all communicate in non-verbal ways. So effective communication, this is how I look at it. So all those people who had written in the chat that they want to be good presenters, they want to be good communicators, there are 3 ingredients I feel are very essential to communicating effectively. Workplace, personal life, doesn't matter. It still stays the same. So inquiry. It's not about telling, it's not about putting your point of view across, but it comes from a place of curiosity, inquiring, asking gentle, probing questions to find out more about the other person's feelings, thoughts, and needs. And this is where powerful questioning come in. Obviously, as a coach, a lot of my work is around here, where I know when is the right time to ask a question. And of course, I believe that it is through this process that you create self-awareness in the other person. So I can say that, Misha, you are somebody who's a very confident person. Or I can ask questions from Misha that lets her come to the conclusion that she is a very confident person. And what does confidence look like for her? What are her limitations? What are her strength areas? It not only helps her understand herself better, but also helps me understand her better, rather than give statements, assumptions, and biases. So that's a really important one. Empathy is also very important, because what is said, but what is under that which is said? What is under the words? What thoughts, feelings, beliefs, needs are driving or not driving those words that are being said? And of course, that has to do with tone, that has to do with emotions. And assertiveness is also very important. For communication to be effective and a two-way collaborative style, you also need to be able to share your feelings and your thoughts in a very open, tactful manner, respectful manner. So this is a good way to look at it. These pictures would show you how different people perceive information. And this is where miscommunication happens. The communication channel breaks down. So how a customer explained it, how the project leader understood it, a simple task, how the engineer designed it, how the programmer wrote it, how the sales executive described it, how the project was documented. That's a funny one. What operations installed, how the customer was built, how the help desk supported it, and what the customer really needed. So what a difference, and what a breakup of communication. Any thoughts that are coming with regards to this picture, specifically in your line of work? And I would feel this would be, communication is something central to the kind of work that you all do. Anybody who hasn't shared yet would like to have a go at it? What is the one thought that entered your head in terms of relevance to your work when you see this? I see very limited people on my screen, so I'd love for Nadeem to call somebody out who would like to share.
We have our executive director who, for some reason, has been hiding today. So, Jessica, you want to come up, please? That's my opportunity to put you on spotlight against all the failed deliverables that I have not met. Jessica, come on, please.
I'm here, but I can't turn my camera on. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, we can.
Okay, so what is the question? Sorry.
So what popped up in your head as you saw this visual in terms of, how you look at communication, or the breakup of communication, the breakdown of communication?
Just that there's a lot of different steps, and along the way, somebody could say something totally different.
See,
Yeah.
each one see it from his perspective.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
If I may,
customer,
though, so if I may, from the pure learning and development perspective, we've got salespeople who go and they get in touch with organizations or the learners by themselves. There are different aspirations from learner, what they want to achieve. The HR wants something to achieve, so on and so forth. And then the training gets delivered to in the classrooms or virtually. People come in there, and the line managers think that these trainees, when they come back, they're going to be straight flying in A380, which is not the case. So learning also doesn't go to fill up the expectations as were from different stakeholders, and the organization doesn't get results. This is something we see in our life, and purely in the security, it's much more common because organizations expect us to protect property information. People get a little enthusiastic, they go strong on their communications, and sometimes they get aggressive, so on and so forth. So if that makes us all sort of align and move on.
Absolutely. Akbar, I think, has something to say, so we'll hear from him.
So this is what we see every day in our projects. So it happens some way or the other way. So what I learned from my teachers that the biggest problem in these projects is communication, cooperation, and coordination. So we need to bring all the stakeholders on the same page. And this is the biggest dilemma of the whole globe, I think. Somewhere it is more, somewhere it is less. The more developed countries and the organizations, they have a good system which gives a clear understanding to all the stakeholders, and the worst understanding gives a worst result. So this is the thing that if we improve this communication and this thing, so we operate in silos. So we need to bring all the stakeholders and have clear communication and coordination meetings. So this is what we people don't share things with each other and the relevant stakeholders, and that is the biggest dilemma. And if we share, sharing is caring, they say, but nowadays people think sharing is scaring. So this is, so we should share. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. And Jessica was right that the more steps that there are, and then I think Ahab said that the more people that they're involved, it just makes communication that much harder. Aram, you've got something to add?
Yes, very briefly, following up on basically carrying on what Akbar said. I think it's important to remember the audience. We always tend to forget who we're speaking to, and understanding what their level of understanding is inherently, by default. We could have a mixed audience, and which means that there may be different levels of understanding of the same topic, the same subject. So you need to first be clear as the person who's addressing that everyone is at the same level or similar, or bring everyone to a level where they're all on the same page, and then build up from there. So that's an assumption that we make, that everyone is at a certain level of understanding of communication, maybe language skills, maybe background and experience and information, the depth of information. So understanding all of that first is the responsibility of the person who is communicating or initiating the communication, which I think a lot of people tend to forget. So
absolutely brilliant point. And that's also relevant to when we're working on team meetings and we're aligning everybody on a single goal. That's not going to happen unless and until you understand what's everybody's understanding of the goal is, what everybody's commitment to the goal is, what's the goal's relevance and importance to everybody. Akbar? Sorry, was it? Oh, okay.
I was saying that the very good explanation by Aram. That is very important and very relevant thing for that. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Right, so that is also connected to the idea of emotions. And there's this ripple effect of emotions in communication channels. You can see in the pictures, in one room, the communication is very open, it's very collaborative, it's very positive, it's very comfortable. I'm sure in this room, it's very easy to share ideas, and the flow of ideas is very comfortable. They're probably going to be able to reach decisions very fast and come out of that room feeling very good about themselves. That is the ripple effect of emotions. One person... Sorry, did somebody say something? Okay, I think somebody was unmuted by mistake. So if one person is communicating in a positive tone, that's going to carry a ripple effect, just similar to when you throw a stone in a pond and you see these ripples being built in the pond. That's exactly how emotions work. And in the second picture, you'll see that everybody's frustrated, the communication has broken down, probably come to an end, nobody's agreeing on anything, people are getting into conflicts, fighting, and everybody is feeding off each other's negative emotions. It's only going to get worse from this point onwards. And I'm going to connect this to a little bit of science here. The first image that you see is all these emotions that pop up. And I want you to link this to this little graph over here with 4 different colors. So based on whatever, on average, research says that we usually say that we feel about 6 emotions in a day, or 4: happy, sad, mad, scared. But actually, there are 300 different emotions. I've not even been able to put all of them here. And we feel as many as 10 to 15 emotions in a day. And that directly impacts our brain and hence our work. So if you move into the picture with the 2 brains, when there's this part of the brain, which is the prefrontal cortex, which is the thinking brain. And then there's a part of the brain just behind that, which is where all our emotions live. And just in the middle of that is this small region called amygdala. Think of amygdala as the alarm button that goes on when there's a crisis, when there's a fire. So when any difficult emotions are in that part of the brain, think of it as an emergency. The amygdala rings an alarm that there's an emergency and sends a signal to the thinking brain to shut down because you're not needed. Think of it if you are working on a very important report and the fire alarm goes in and there's a fire in the building. You're not going to sit there and think about what data to put in that report. You're actually going to get up and run. So that part of your brain will not be needed at that time, which is what happens that when there is negative emotions because of a result of poor communication, the amygdala triggers a response for the thinking brain to work down, to switch off. This is where we see you cannot make decisions from this point onwards. You cannot agree to something. You cannot get any positive results from the project that you're working. So for communication, or for the thinking brain to work effectively, the right emotions need to happen for the right communication to happen. And as you see in the graph downstairs, when you're in the yellow stage, that is where these emotions carry high energy, but they're pleasant. You're excited, you're about a new project. If you translate this into the other graph, that is where performance happens. When you're excited, when you're optimistic, when you're joyful, when you're happy. And it depends upon your communication, especially when you're working with the team, to put them in this zone. Green is also good. When you make them feel relaxed, when you make them feel happy, content, calmer, this is a more, long-term state. You can't always be in the yellow state. You have to be in the green state as well. Otherwise, you'll get too tired for being too excited. You'll burn yourself out. That is the renewal zone. Again, communication needs to happen around that. How are you feeling? What's happening with this project? What is the pace? Are you managing the speed okay? These kind of questions help your people stay in the renewal zone. When you're in the blue zone, let's go to the red zone. When you're in the red zone, you're barely surviving. That is, again, the emotions carry high energy, but they're unpleasant. Angry, anxious, frustrated. That's because, you've just yelled at your teammate because the report was not good. And that translates to survival zone. You're only surviving. You're not going to be performing. That's not where performance will happen. Similarly, the blue zone is something where the emotion, it has low energy. It's sadness, depression, but it's very, very unpleasant. And that's where you know that your people are burnt out. So over time, when the communication has broken down so much, and you're putting your people in the red zone, or you're putting yourself in the red zone so much, you're eventually going to move to the blue zone where you're going to get burnt out. So as we know, in order for performance to happen, you need to make sure that you play between the yellow and the gray. So a little tool before, for that, we have to learn, somebody put this on the chat, we have to learn to respond and not to react. And when we think about it, we are always reacting. We don't really respond, we react. And we react when, if you move back, we react when your higher cortex, your thinking brain, is disabled. That's when we're not responding because your brain is not doing the cognitive functioning. So reaction is when you are speaking before thinking. But if you reverse that and you start thinking before speaking, then that's where you're responding. You ask yourself, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it helpful right now, what I'm about to say? And if you just create that pause to ask yourself these 3 questions, you'll find yourself reacting less and responding more. So when you do a reaction, it's sudden, it's unplanned, it's unintended, it's something that you always regret later. Whereas when you respond, you think about it, you plan what words will come out of you, you consider the impact those words will have on other people. And you often do not regret the things that you say here. So the power of the pause is real. And that's where you understand. So if you look at the picture, you understand that whatever reaction is coming, there's a trigger, and the reaction comes right away, and that leads to unwanted outcomes, regret, breakdown of communication. But if there is a trigger and you create a pause, then what comes out is not a reaction, but a response, and that leads to favorable outcomes. So some quick ways that I showed here, is to create that pause in yourself, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, what I'm about to say, is it true? For example, we're angry at somebody and say, you're the first person I've ever worked with. But if you ask yourself, is it true what I'm about to say? Probably not. Probably that's the best person you worked with, but just because you're triggered, you're going to say it. Is it necessary to say it? Is it going to achieve anything? Must this go? Is it helpful right now to say this, or is it going to make the situation worse? And then another thing that I love to do is that when I take a deep breath, I label my emotion very quickly in my head. What am I feeling right now? There's a phrase that we use, which is name it to tame it. If we name the emotion, we can tame or control the emotion. If I know I'm feeling angry, I'd be able to create that pause to say, oh, hold on, I'm angry. I knew somebody, every time they'd get angry at their boss, they'd shoot an angry email. I'm so upset, I quit. And they must have quit like 5 times every day. And they always regretted it later, came back to the boss and said, I'm really sorry, I didn't mean to do that. And how many times, if you think about it, have we gotten an email that has triggered us and we quickly feel like we need to respond to this right away? So in that moment, label your emotion. How are you feeling? Take a pause, take a breath, count to 10, and ask yourself, what matters most right now? And you would respond from a place of purpose if you ask that question from yourself, and not from a place of ego or pride.
Yeah.
So let that sink in for a minute.
I believe that this is the most biggest issue with couples.
100%. Honestly, this is the biggest issue anywhere in the world, because we communicate or we react from a place of ego and pride, and we don't respond from a place of purpose. For me, I think the time when the pivot in my communication happened was at that time where I realized that I don't need to react. I just need to respond. So quick reflection prompt, if you put it in the chat, think of a moment when you reacted emotionally. What could a pause have changed? So while you're thinking, I'll give an example. Some time ago, there was an individual that I still am very close to, thank God. But at that moment, I was going through a very tough time in my life. And when that person asked me something, they didn't mean anything bad by it. But because I was so triggered by my life at that time, I thought they were judging me. And as they were talking, I just very disrespectfully shut the phone on them and said, I'd never want to talk to you ever again. That led to regret, that led to some real problems between us, and our communication broke down. We stopped talking for many months. If only I had created a pause in that moment and asked that person a question, or just felt my emotion. And then later, when now we're on excellent terms because we picked up on the communication, we fixed it, that I asked that person what happened. They said, I don't know what happened, because I just said a normal sentence and something in you got triggered, and even I didn't know what it was. All right. And very important, I want you to make this like your a daily reminder that, remember, no response is also a response, and it's a very powerful one, if not the most important one. Silence sometimes could be the most powerful way to communicate. I've been teaching this to people for years and years, and it's a difficult art to master, but so many difficult situations can be avoided if you just don't give a response, or if you don't give a response in that moment. I always say, whenever I get a difficult email or I get a difficult statement from somebody, I always tell myself I have to sleep on it. I have to give myself 24 hours before I will respond to this email. And that always helps. So I'm going to stop sharing just a little bit this one, and I'm going to show you a video. We're going to do a little exercise, and if anybody has done this exercise before, just be quiet. Use that silence so others don't cheat. All right. So, all right. Hopefully everybody's ready.
You can develop discipline, improve your skills, and foster new ideas. It's just
okay. You're gonna get past the ads. There you are.
Test of selective attention.
Start from the beginning.
This is a test of selective attention. Count how many times the players wearing white pass the basketball.
How many passes did you count?
You can put it in the chat. How many passes did you
The correct answer is 15 passes. But did you see the gorilla?
I see the gorilla, but
Now you see
I
it,
think
yes.
it's thin. Yes, I see.
This video is from research by Daniel Simons and Christopher.
So isn't that interesting? How many people who haven't done this exercise before or have seen this video before saw the gorilla? Anybody? So somebody said that only right in the end. So most people are writing 10, 11, 15, 17. That means that they were focusing on the numbers. Mustafa says that he did see the gorilla. Christopher, I'm assuming you also mean that you saw the gorilla. I've done this countless times. I've shown this video countless times, sorry, wrong share, over the years. And very few people, less than 1%, tell me that they saw the gorilla. Why do you think that is? What is the purpose of this video? Okay, Kevin says, done it before, failed the first time, but catching on, not fooling me twice. Awesome. So what this video is saying is that we tend to focus on specific things. We pick on specific things and we only tend to focus on that, and we only see what we see. And we talked about it last time. So James says he only saw the gorilla. Interesting. There's this concept that I talked about last time as well, which is called the selective, confirmation bias. So yes, there's definitely selection bias as well. Why is my not starting my PowerPoint? Yeah, I think it should be okay now. Yeah, you guys can see it? Yeah, okay. So
this is a test of selective attention.
It's again the YouTube video.
Yeah, I think it's because of this, yeah. So selective attention is when we only pay attention to what we're paying attention to, and we don't see anything that's happening around us. So that's a form of not paying attention, not listening actively, not paying attention to what we feel is important. So for example, if you've been given a task for a project, you need to deliver results in 3 months. You're going to be so focused on that. You're going to be paying so much attention to it that you're probably not going to pay attention to the impact or the burnout that is happening as a result. Second, there's confirmation bias. When, for example, I believe that Tom in my team is before he joined my team, somebody told me, oh, Tom, be careful of that one. Now, every time there's this belief that is formed in my head that probably he's not a good person to work with. Every time he makes a mistake, it confirms in my head, yes, see, he wasn't a good person. But it's confirming the belief that I had formed about Tom. So I'm going to only look for the things that confirm that belief that he's not a good worker. Now, he might be doing so many things right, which show me that he's a good worker, but I'm going to be ignoring all of them. So that's confirmation bias. There's another kind of bias, which is status bias. We saw that at play when we were doing the paper exercise. You felt I'm the trainer, I'm important, if I'm saying it, it must be done. There might be consequences if you don't listen to me. Everybody listened and closed their eyes. I said, don't question me, nobody questioned me. So we tend to have a certain communication style for people who we perceive are higher or equal in status or importance. And we have a different way of communicating with people who we feel are inferior in any way or have a lowered status. A classic example in many countries, the way we talk to help in our houses because we feel that their status is lower. So I want to round this up with the wonderful model of Goldman, which is the emotional intelligence model, which sums up the way we should communicate very well. So when we are very aware of our own communication style and we work on that, that is self-awareness. We are aware of it and we know how to manage that. What is triggering us, what makes us angry, what makes us upset, and how to manage that. That is self-management. When we're also aware of other people and their communication styles, that's when we have social awareness. That can include empathy, that can include organizational awareness. And when we focus on the relationship part of things, how do we build those relationships? How do we inspire people? How do we motivate people? How do we coach people? How do we help them with their problems, do mentoring? How do we manage conflict? How do we work as teams? How do we encourage teamwork to happen? Then when we're acting on all four, that's when we know that we're working from a place of emotional intelligence and not only IQ. So communication is key to that happening. All right, another example that I'll take, or actually another very important aspect to all of us is that we take criticism to our hearts. We take it very, very personally. No matter how that feedback is given, Yes, it's very important how that feedback is given, with what tone, but at the end of the day, we do end up taking it very, very personal. So I'll give you an example here. I think it's on this slide. Yeah. So let's see. There's a senior security personnel. His name is Ahmed. He's just, he's been in charge of organizing a conference. He's done a fab job. He's made sure that everything is taken care of. All the deliverables are managed. However, 10 minutes before opening, his boss comes out very agitated and says, there's nobody covering the left side of the basement door. And, why is this happening? Who's responsible for this? Please send somebody there right now and get that covered. Now, Ahmed suddenly feels, oh my God, all the hard work of my 6 months has gone to waste. And, now nothing's good is going to come out of this. My boss doesn't take me, appreciate my work. He takes me for granted. There's no point doing any other work. And he's so bummed out. He starts, the rest of the conference, he just isn't tuned in. He's not paying attention. He's not checking security updates. He's not checking in with his boss. He's angry at his boss. Now it's an issue of pride and ego. So even if he has a question to ask, he will not ask. That's when he took criticism very, very personally. And turns out that the boss was just into a security briefing, and they identified a security risk, and he just came out in a rush to make sure that security breach was taken care of. So yes, his tone was rushed, hurried, panic, because it was only 10 minutes into the conference, but it was coming from a good intention. So the idea here is, my question to you, if somebody would ask me, somebody would answer me, how could Ahmed have, what could have been a different response from Ahmed here? That would have been more productive response. Anybody?
I think it's the best thing that he need to focus on how to solve the issue, to solve the
very good.
problem, and make the things right.
Absolutely great. So it's very important. Let's actually wait for that. It's very important when you're taking criticism. So take it seriously. Ask, what's the problem here? What needs to be addressed, but not take it personally. It's not about you. Yes, it is about the person who's saying it, but it's not about you. So when you speak with clarity and integrity, say, and even, for the person who's delivering this message, they also need to understand that if they say what's true and not what you fear, that's going to have a bigger impact. So at that moment, the boss was worried. He was scared. Something terrible is going to happen. But Ahmed was also worried that my 6 months of hard work is going to waste because of this one mistake. Both of them were operating from a place of fear and not facts and clarity. So communication will be very, very effective when you operate from a position of clarity. What is actually true? What is the fact? What is the learning here? What are the deliverables? What is the outcome? And not what you're anxious about or what you're scared about. The responsibility of clear communication under pressure, this is key. I cannot stress upon it. When you're under pressure, when there's a stressful situation, that's where there's higher responsibility on you to be clear in your communication. Very, very important. Why words from people in uniform carry amplified meaning? So people in uniform have a higher degree of importance attached to their words. What they say might create panic, it might create stress, it might create anxiety, and that's very, very important to consider. Awesome. All right, so I'm a little mindful of the time. We're good so far. Hopefully we'll end on time. So there are 4 habits that I want you to look at when you're, sorry, Iram, you have a question? Okay.
I wanted to add something very quickly to the situation that you just explained. The communication when you are under pressure, under stress, can be rushed, can be misunderstood. So having good communication as a team is very important to develop it over a longer period of time so that under pressure, when you communicate, nobody misunderstands your intent. Yeah. Having that goodwill, that strong bond of communication in your team as a standard is extremely important, because that is what you need when you're under pressure, because nobody can stop and explain themselves at times because they need work done. So there is no room for misunderstanding of intent or feeling, it's like becoming too sensitive or taking it personally. There shouldn't be room for that. There should, at a basic level, there has to be good communication within a team. So I think that is something that we overlook, which is very important.
100%. Really important. And there's a trick that I will share with you, that whenever you feel that there's been feedback has been shared and you feel yourself taking it personally, ask yourself one question. What is the value of this feedback? Simple. And you would actually stop taking feedback personally. You would start taking it more purposefully. What is the value of this feedback? How does it benefit me at this moment in time? And Nadeem knows I always talk about this behavior profiling tool that I use, which is called Extended Disc, where, and if you're interested, please connect with me later, where we understand the different types of behavior that people have and what are the best ways of communicating with them. So if we understand, like Iram rightly pointed out, what your team is, get to know them, what is their style, what is their preferred style of communication, and you talk to them in that way. So for example, Iram could be somebody who likes facts to the point, and if I need to communicate something to her, I need to give her feedback, I'd give it in that form. Let's say Ahab or Kevin prefers that if I sit down, give them information, slowly explain things to them, that's going to be a better way of giving feedback to them. So as a manager, as a leader, that's the style I'm going to adopt. We've done two, so I'm going to share two other tips and tricks to communicate with influence and presence. So number one, the one we did briefly touch on it, is, your own body language. So when I say power posture, it doesn't mean that you sit up straight and show as if you're very powerful, authority, in control. No. When you're communicating with influence, you want to show that you are there to take control of the situation. You're not somebody who's unsure. You're not somebody who's also scared. You're not somebody who doesn't know what's happening. You're somebody who's in charge, who's responding and not reacting. Now, let's say a team has completely broken down and worried and anxious. In that moment, you need to have a power posture, calm, to the point, say, it's all right, I hear all of you. Let's think about what solutions we could get out of this. Even pace, even voice, even tone, so it doesn't stress other people out. So as a leader, that would go in your benefit. And the second one is intentional framing. There's a few points to that. So if you want, you can make a note of that. Intentional framing means to be very mindful of what you're communicating and how you're communicating. So ask yourself, what I want to share is important because ... When you ask yourself that, you say you don't overshare. And you don't share what doesn't need to be shared. You only share what is important in this conversation. So I can be talking to Akbar and I can say, I noticed that when I was speaking with, Misha, she was doing this and that, and et cetera, et cetera. Sorry, Misha, to pick on you. But it's not important. What is important is maybe that I wanted to share that I think for next time, it would be a really good idea if, maybe what I'm trying to say is that it was a very good call from Misha's end that we took a picture. And it's important to share is because it's a learning for us that next time we should definitely do a picture, or we should do a picture at the start. So always ask yourself, what I want to share is important because ... Facts before feelings, always. So we often start our statement as, I'm so angry that this project was not done. Reverse it. Say, this project was not done. I feel stressed about it. What can we do? And I'll come to that in a bit as well. Think about what they need to hear versus what you feel the need to say. Because it's not about what you feel like saying, because we always feel like saying a lot. But what is it that they need to hear based on the goal that, whatever the shared goal is? Clear, all your communication should end. It shouldn't be a word vomit. It should end with a clear outcome and a clear action plan, an action step. Okay, this is what it is. And this is what I feel should happen now. And this is your next step or your action outcome. And avoid fillers. Fillers are maybe, I think, I'm not sure. They don't really lead to a very clear communication format. And one thing which is my own, I always add is that we can always reframe our communication. So I can say the weather is terrible, and I can say the weather is challenging. Same message, but two different outcomes, two different ways that can be perceived. I can say, and it's always about the glass is half full or the glass is half empty. So I can say the conference went terrible. We did really bad. Our timing was terrible. Or I can say the conference there were a lot of good things that happened at the conference. There's also some development areas. Let's talk about those. So that puts everybody in the positive ripple effect that I talked about. All right, so let's spend about 5 to 8 minutes on conflict resolution or conflict management, because that's very relevant to what I've been saying so far. I think conflict, of course, happens when there's poor communication. So the idea or the hope is that we never get to the point of conflict. However, if we do get to the point of conflict, which is very normal, very human, then what are the different ways that can help us resolve that conflict? So definitely effectively conveying information. That means, talking about same thing that I said, intentional framing. Sorry, I need to, power posture, intentional framing, respond and not react, listen beyond words. All of these 4 habits will help with that. There was one more that I'd written here. I think it's about to come up. Yeah. Being sensitive to people's needs. So that's where emotional intelligence comes in. Being polite, super important. We saw the value of that when we were talking about nice to see you here. The message would be perceived completely differently if you just said it in a polite way. Avoiding gossip or lending ears to gossip, because gossip is like Chinese whispers. I don't know if any of you played that as a young person. You whisper somebody in somebody's ear, they don't really hear it, they pass it on, and by the time it gets to the last person, it's a completely different statement to what was originally said. Accurately interpreting people's emotions. So this is also a form of emotional intelligence. And the more active listener you are, the more attention you pay to body language, non-verbal communication, the more in tune you will be with people's emotions. And calmly arriving at resolutions and solutions to conflicts. So you move beyond emotions dumping and, venting out and, telling the other person why this is not okay, but moving to an intentional framing format where you say, okay, what is the outcome of this? What is the solution to this? And how do we get there? Yeah, this is the one I was looking for. So some tricks to master difficult conversations is, I'm going to give you 3 tips. So there's a 3-part assertive message. You tell yourself, so if you want to communicate to somebody something that's not working out for you, you can do it in 3 parts. You can say, when X happens, so that's a fact before emotion. When X happens, I feel Y and I need Z. That's the action part. So when the project is not done in time, I feel stressed and anxious. I need you to manage your time more effectively. Okay? Versus, I hate it when you don't deliver your projects on time. It's making me very nervous. You better finish this in time next time. Completely different messaging, right? Which one do you think is going to have a major impact, or it's actually going to result in action? The first one. So start practicing this today. I'm going to give you just a minute to think of a recent situation or a recent message, or maybe a message that maybe you're going to have a conversation with your child, your spouse, or somebody you work with. How could you reframe that into a 3-part assertive message? Just so we could learn from each other. Meanwhile, I'll share an example. So when you interrupt me, I feel like I lose thread of my conversation. I need you to give me time to finish my sentence and then share your ideas. See, polite, facts before emotions, to the point, outcome driven, and intentional framing. All right, anybody wants to put it up in the chat? It could be a made up example as well, but just a way for us to learn each other and practice this.
Can I go ahead, Mehreen?
And share, yes, whoever it is.
Yeah.
I can't see you.
Sorry, this is Fawad. Basically, I have an employee who is coming late to work. So the way I would approach him is I will find the issue and address directly with him by saying, we have noticed you are coming to work late every single day. It's affecting our operational requirements, our site expectations. I want you to be more punctual. If there's anything we can support, please let us know, and we are happy to support them.
Excellent. Clap, clap, bravo. So Fawad actually went one step ahead and added the support dimension to it, which again is super important. To tell the person that we're collaborating with you. I'm just not standing here judging you or mocking you or making it difficult for you, but I understand, but this is what I need. This is what needs to happen. What support do you need? Excellent job, Fawad. Second is to have curiosity over the need rather than the need to control. So we often want to control a conversation. We want to determine how it's going to end. But rather, we could be curious. And if I take the same example that Fawad just took, say, ask, rather than control the situation, say, this needs to happen one way or the other. He added an element of support. So if he's curious, he will say, I wonder what kind of support do you need in this matter? Ask the person, what support do you need? And we'd make it happen. And the third is also very similar. Replace assumptions with curiosity as well. So Fawad may sit there and assume, oh, he's late because he's irresponsible. He's late because he doesn't care for his job. He's late because he's young and he doesn't really need this job, so he's not taking it seriously. Could be so many reasons and assumptions, right? So what if we ask that person? We're just curious. I wonder I've noticed a pattern of late arrivals. I'm curious what's happening. Simple question, what's happening, will help you understand. Maybe they have car problems. Maybe they, they have some cognitive issue, which is why they can't keep on track. Maybe they have some massive family problems and they're distracted. Could be so many reasons. Maybe they're on time, but they're really nervous to come to work, so they spend like 15 minutes just outside, breathing. Could be any reason. You'd only know that when you replace assumptions and that bias that comes with it with curiosity. All right. So, and of course, I want to end at this is, I think, two more slides. While we're talking about communicating with others, it's also important to understand how we communicate with ourselves. That is often one of the most important form of communications. Self-talk is the most powerful form of communication. And often we don't talk to ourselves or about ourselves very well. So use your words to build yourself up, ask yourself questions, positive questions, powerful questions, have a positive dialogue with yourself. Find out which phrases trigger you, make you nervous, and don't use them. Use positive phrases. And technique that I often use is catch, challenge, change. So catch the thought that is triggering you. I messed up again. Challenge it. What's one thing that I did well? Sure, I messed up, but what's that one thing that I did well? And then change it. Next time, I'll do it this way. Okay, so I feel that this technique works wonders for people, especially the ones who talk negatively to themselves. Faizan.
Thank you, Marine. It's wonderful going, and sorry to join the late because there was some issue. That's why I could not be able to join. A lot of people were there in IFPO. Thank you. I just want to take the example I had of what Fawad is given. That if you are asking someone, as I have around 200 people under my command where I am serving, and what is the problem that today I also face, that there are people who are very stubborn. And they are not even listening to you, and they are repeating the things again and again, and being being responsible. I don't want to say them goodbye. I want to keep on counseling them, keep on telling them that this is the job that you have to do, but still you face the problem. And then the area is really that tough, that the area is very poor. And if you fire someone, obviously there are people who are really behind that individual who is working. So how you should then go on in these matters, that you don't want that this should happen. There is literacy rate is also very less over here. So how we should just tell them that do your job, and if again and again there's some problem comes, should we make some example at the last that okay, we fire one person to get the job done from other 199 persons, or what you suggest, what your experience says regarding this? Thank
Okay,
you.
that's a pretty great question. I think that's pretty much covers a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about. That first of all, we have to understand and we have to have that curiosity. What is happening in this world which is making them be this way? Humanly, nobody wants to perform badly. Nobody wants to be in a position where other people are not happy with them. That's just human nature. So if that's happening, what's happening in their world? What support do they require? What's missing for them? And what are some of the things that they're struggling with that we can coach and mentor them on? Keep the open communication channel, help them, make them see what is the situation, what is the outcome of it, and what support can we give them, and what outcome is needed from that. So that helps them move from that place to a place where they're able to sort of move forward with you and gain momentum. Does that answer your question, Izan?
Thank you very much.
I also link it to this slide, as whenever you are communicating, especially the wonderful situation that Faizan brought, you've asked yourself which chair and which choice are you choosing for yourself? Are you attacking? Are you judging? Are you misbehaving, blaming, complaining, gossiping? That person is not going to respond to that. Are you being, vulnerable, judging yourself? I must not be a good boss. That's why they're behaving this way. Are you sitting in the green chair where you're pausing, you're being careful, you're being mindful, you're observing, you're being curious? Blue chair is where you're being self-aware of who you are. What do you want? How can you communicate the best? What are your boundaries? What's acceptable for you? What's not acceptable for you? And then purple chair is the connect chair. Display, and that's where you'll get real results with this person that you're talking about. You display empathy, compassion, understanding, putting ego on the back seat, control on the back seat, authority on the back seat, and embrace and get, first you need to get to know the other person's perspective and then embrace it. All right, somebody has a hand up and I'm almost at the end of the, oh, it's
Mehreen, just one last point I would like to add to Jawad. Since I'm not a HR specialist, but I would definitely add my 2 cents. If Jawad is having an issue, how to manage employee performance. It's hard to have hard conversation sometime with your employees, but it's always worth to listen to them, show empathy, and you know, if they're not performing, if someone is coming late or not doing their job properly, it's always good to give them some time off from work, so they can reflect and you know, take their time off away from work. And I have seen a lot of advantages given employees time off when they're not performing. That can be, you know, from their personal issues or family struggles or any kind of situation they're facing in their life. So sometimes giving them time off so they can reflect and, you know, refresh and come back. And we have seen you know, enhancement and increase in their performance.
Thank you, Mehreen. If you allow just a quick one here, and I'm purely talking from my personal experience. We as human always pick up what is not right, and that we do very quickly. How about the person you want to discipline or the group that you want to leave a message? Find a person from within who is doing things right and then say, hey, listen, here is Rajesh, always punctual. He wears nice dress. He obeys the instructions. He does his reports. Wonderful job by Rajesh. And I'm sure 20 more would like to beat Rajesh in the next week or next month. Likewise, if you are trying to sort of counsel somebody, go on with the positive reinforcements that look, your communication writing is excellent and you do your things well. Possibly there's an area that you can improve further. I mean, that's how I would like it in my humble capacity to add some value, if that helps you, Faizan. And Fawad, thank you. Jawad, thank you for bringing the example from Sydney or Perth. I lost the track which city you are in.
Yeah, I'm from Perth. Thanks for remembering, sir. Anyway, you know, so you're a very busy person, and I appreciate. Thank you very much.
Lovely to have you here from Perth. Perth is my second family home. My family lives there, so I visit very often. Hopefully, I'll see you sometime soon.
Yeah,
All right.
sure. Welcome. Thank you.
I'm going to end this with a wonderful book recommendation. It's a very thin book, so even if you don't read that often, you'll be done with it in less than a week. It's a wonderful book to understand the idea of communicating effectively without really getting into the technical stuff. So the way the book is written, they don't talk the boring way about communication. They just talk about everyday communication channels and how do you construct them. So some key points, I've actually taken them out and put them here. And they say that the 4 agreements that you need to do with yourself is that be impeccable with your word. Speak with integrity, honesty. Like I said, say only what you mean, what has to be said. Avoid gossip, avoid negative talk. Use your words to uplift and inspire. And this would keep the communication channel going. Don't take anything personally. Like I said, don't make assumptions. Don't leave room for biases. Ask for clarity. Ask questions for clarification so that there's no misunderstanding. There's no room for misunderstanding. Assumptions breed drama. Facts bring calm. Don't jump to conclusions. And the 4 agreement is always do your best. As you know, it's always a journey. You build it up. Sometimes you might not do so well. Sometimes you'll do excellently, but your best will change from moment to moment. So, that's self-communication, which is coming in. Avoid self-judgment, avoid regret, give your full presence and effort, and you'll get there. All right, as we end, what new communication habit now will you commit to after listening to all of this? So we did an intention, we set an intention at the beginning. Now what I want you to do is set an intention as we leave this webinar. What new communication habit will you now commit to and practice as we move forward? And while you're typing, I will hand the floor back to Misha or Nadeem. And it was obviously, as always, lovely having you. And we'll open the floor to questions. We can stay beyond 5 minutes if there are any questions or comments.
Meanwhile, I would like... Okay. Yes, please go ahead.
Let me say that's responding. This is the most things that I regarding the communication, responding. It's so you don't react, you respond.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay,
Thank you,
awesome.
Ihab. Misha,
Yes.
go on with what you are doing. And in the
I would
meantime, the people can participate on the chat. Misha, go on, please.
I would like to share a QR code for a quick feedback. It will take a couple of minutes, please. And also, I'll be sharing the link in the chat box. You can use either. Please scan this code and submit your feedback.
We are only human. We cannot be perfect. Neither IFPO nor Mehreen nor anybody else. So be generous. Suggest what you think we can do more to add value to your lives. And if you liked something, a word of thanks to Mehreen, who's done a wonderful job. And obviously, I can't say enough thanks to my team, Misha, Rehan, Asif. You guys are doing a sterling job. These are contribution to lives of so many people. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. It was wonderful. Everybody interacted really, really well today. So I changed the format a little bit, made it a bit more interactive. Hopefully, I think this is this format is working out well for people. So we'll just go by this format for next time as well. And I think few more weeks and we'll be bringing you the next topic. If anybody has any questions, please come off mute.
So we have the collection that I have is Shukriya in Urdu, Shukr in Arabic, thank you in English, Merci in French, Salamat in Tagalog. Mehreen, do you want to add one language that I haven't said? Maybe the body language?
Arabic.
Arabic, shukran.
I think this is thank you. This is
In
thank
French?
you in sign language. So I would do that one. It says thank you in sign language. And yeah, you said all the languages that I speak. So merci,
So-
shukriya, shukran, thank you.
I think there was one missing from Pashto, I would say, Manana. Thank you. That's from the northern part of Pakistan.
All right, great, thank you.
I just
Asante.
want to thank.
I think Talal.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Maria.
Yes, I just want to thank everybody who honor or arrange this meeting. It was very helpful. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much. Lovely having all of you.
Take care.
Thank you so much.
From my side,
Have a nice weekend.
Have a nice weekend.
I have it's a personal question.
Please
It's
go.
regarding the communication.
Yes.
So when I mentioned that this is sometimes it's happen between couples. Sometimes you struggling to how to communicate with your partner, for example. Sometimes you struggle with that. That it's experience. That's something that I face, especially at the current time now. Okay, regarding the communication with my ex, it's related to the kids. So now I need your advice here. What's the most things that I need to focus on that just to enhance to make our communication it's much better?
Brilliant question, and thank you for sharing that. But I noticed that Nadeem unmuted himself. I have a feeling he's got something to add.
No, I have
Yes.
nothing to say. Ihab,
Yes.
most welcome. I just wanted to say those who wish to leave, please by all means carry on.
Please go
And
ahead.
Yes.
very kind of Mehreen that she is staying. Ihab, not many have succeeded in that part of the communication.
No, but also
to
because
make things
it's really here.
right.
It's
Okay.
really
I'm not an
I'm struggling
expert.
with
Good
that,
question,
especially
to
with
be
the
honest,
kids.
and it's something that I talk very passionately about. So I actually started my coaching career working with families. So a lot of the communication that I used to talk about was in the family and the education context. And a lot of what I've spoken about applies to that as well, if not 100%. I would even go as far as saying that almost everything applies there. You know, one of the things that we fail to remember when we're talking to our kids, especially, and we take into account, is the status bias. We think we're in a position of power, we're older, we know more, and hence we don't talk to them the same way we would talk to people our own age. I always give this example that if a friend came to your house, or if your boss came to your house and they broke a vase, a very expensive vase that maybe you brought from Paris, you know, from Eiffel Tower or somewhere, it's very special to you. But if they break it, you'll say, oh, don't worry about it, it's okay. But if your child breaks it, it's a different story altogether.
Yeah.
So you'll scream at them, you might hit them, you might stop talking to them, you say, how dare you, this was so important to me. And you might, you know, take away their iPads to punish them. So the way we communicate with children is often very different, and that leads to the shutdown of communication. So we have to, you know, be mindful of the status bias, be very mindful of the kind of how are you communicating with them, your language, your tone, your face expressions. I did a webinar once where I explained to people that next time you're talking to your kids, put a mirror next to you and see what your expressions are like, because that's what they see before they hear your words. And the same story is when we're talking to our spouses, because again, we will talk to them differently than if, let's say, a boss was there, or if a next door neighbor was there, or if the president of the country came to visit us. So we forget the basic principles of communication when we're talking to people, members of our family. So that is the one tip that I want to leave you with, and the one reflection point.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Mehreen.
I can set you up a counseling session or a coaching session with Mehreen, and I'm happy to support you whatever it takes, because Mehreen and I all believe in one thing: making people's life better through programs, through coaching, mentoring. Yeah.
100%.
So thank
I
you
would
for
also, Nadeem, take a few seconds too. And Nadeem is hopefully he's somebody who's going to experience it soon, and he's going to you know, promote it, because for me, the way I communicate with people, the entire idea changed after I got the extended assessment done for myself. I understood people. Now I know if I'm speaking with somebody, what is their true communication style, and I communicate with them in the same way. And I've seen my communication skills improve manifold because of that. So if anybody's interested, just have a chat with me about it.
So that's my little girl. Last 2 weeks, she refused to talk to me due to my absence for work. So this is the difficulties that I'm facing, especially with the kids. So that's why I need your advice in this matter, the communication. Thank you. Thank you.
Please do connect with me. We could have a deeper conversation around that. So not a problem.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
When,
Mr. Nadeem will help in that. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think he's going to send you, somebody from his team is going to send a participant workbook. So Misha, or anybody, whoever is sending it, if you could also add my LinkedIn ID or my email address to that. So if anybody has any questions or need any support in this area, we can talk.
Sure.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.
Mehreen, once again, thank you very much, Mehreen.
Thank you very much.
You made us all
Next time.
smile and look forward to the next session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.